Just on
Here's
it too.
Hey, I want to see that now.
Are on here as well. Okay, let's get started.
Alright. J. Jones.
I know. Look at that aim.
I mean, it's perfect.
I know.
Is it going to do this every time I play? I like reset my time. Alright.
Hey, my man Udon on.
So I think this recording starts after we talked about the plan, I assume. Because I remember us talking about a plan up to this point. It didn't sound like we had a plan, though. Is that correct? Does anybody else that was there remember that? This is my initial criticism where before a fight even starts, we should have a plan of what we're doing, like a general idea of where we're going, what comp we're running, and what our strengths and weaknesses are. Did we talk about that beforehand?
So, if I remember correctly, the plan was just run Zen Goats.
Okay.
I don't think there was anything more specific.
I think that's okay. As long, did we say Zen Goats down middle, or what did we say? Just Zen Goats? Okay. So let's next time, and for everybody too, let's try to remember a route, just a general route, even if it's something as simple as down main and on stairs, like something like that, just so we get in the general direction where we're supposed to be going. I had a session with a coach it was yesterday actually. I had a session with a coach yesterday where I was going over one of our scrims, specifically my play, but he was talking to me about kind of some of the stuff that the team should be doing overall, that he kind of noticed apart from my play. And he was saying one of the things that he really wanted us, like, he wanted to see more of is us not overthink things. Like, this goes back to the other coach that we had. So we had that one coach that came by and he kind of told us that we waited for affirmation before we did anything. We waited for confirmation before we acted. And so my coach yesterday was kind of showing me a few videos, going over what I was doing and what our team was doing. And what he was mentioning was essentially have a plan, have a general comp and the strategy understood by the players in it, know what the roles are within that, know what the subgroups are. So if you're playing Zen Goats, we're rolling together, obviously. We all know that. But know what you're mostly supposed to be focusing on. Zen, your Discords on Reinhardt. You know, we don't have to say that before the fight, but before we even get into a scrim, we should all know that. The other thing he was saying is essentially once you make your role, when you're in spawn, you talk about the general route you're taking and what comp you're running. Once you're out in the open, it's call outs, it's clear communications, it's the shot caller making shot calls about ultimate usage and when to do it or how to set up, like if you're doing crossfires, like if you're doing quad DPS or something. If you're running goats, like who you're engaging on, calling off key resources that are being used by the enemy. Talking about when you're low on stuff, things like that. But then after that, it's pretty much individual actions at that point. Like your shot calling, you're calling a target. Your target caller is going to keep calling a target if you're single focusing, or your shot caller is going to be calling like how to set up a focus. But I want to make it clear that like that thing where we were doing, I showed him a video of us doing that thing where we micromanaged everything. We were like, well, all right, we're moving forward. Okay, can I use Shatter? Can I use Shatter now? He was like, you cannot do that. That's way too slow. Your players know better. Like, you guys are all smart players. You understand how to play this game. So, you know, I expect you to understand that. Now, having said that, there are some things that you need to establish during those fights. And I won't go into super big detail into, like, what that means. But he was essentially saying, like, support ults. If you guys have 2 defensive ults, make sure you call out who's using the defensive ult if something happens, right? There was a point, I think, in one of the VODs that we were looking over where there were 2 support ults that were popped at the exact same time. He was mentioning if you communicate, like, hey, if shit goes down, Zen pop ult first, then we'll use beat, something like that. That's something that you can communicate, you know, beforehand, just to make sure you guys aren't overlapping, and also calling when you're going to use an ult that wasn't planned. So if I'm like saying Shatter, if I see like a Shatter opportunity, I'm gonna Shatter, just so it puts everybody in the mindset a second before it happens that you can do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Round 1. Capture the objective.
All right. This approach is good. I like that we're moving forward. I don't like... I shouldn't have dropped shield here. I have a nasty habit of just dropping shield because I'm used to shield hopping, especially this goat's form. But our Zen is kind of wide open here. what I think they're running goats. I'm pretty sure, so it doesn't get ultimately punished, but it's kind of a bad habit because if they did decide to run a widow or something, that's a pick like right off the bat. But
It looks like they're running a
are they?
pharmacy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I can see the.
Yeah, that looks like
Yeah,
a
you're
rocket.
right. That's a rocket, and that's a stream.
And I see the beam and I see a beam
Yeah,
in
same.
the top.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a rocket about to hit him. I'm guessing. Let's see. Yep, rocket hits. Okay, so bad habit. Our rotations when we're moving. We need to get better at this. I think this is something. This is a team thing. It's an overall team thing. I would say it's just me, but we just have to get in this habit of like wherever the fire is at, my shield needs to be at that, and then the team needs to understand implicitly, without being told, that they need to get the fuck out of the way. Meaning like if there's going to be fire coming from that avenue, right? Like if I were to draw on the screen from this direction where the Pharah's line of sight is, we shouldn't, just because my shield's there, we shouldn't be trying to attack that as much as possible unless we have a win condition for that. So like in this initial rotation, we rotate into point, shield stays up, stays towards the focus fire, group moves in, then we start doing our poke phase, right? We just don't want to abuse that or like get that abused from us from our sloppy rotations. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have anything they wanted to add so far?
Also, howdy, I'm here.
Oh, hey, what's up, Lampshade?
Hey,
Hi.
I don't think these guys have a McCree.
So it looks like the Pharah, did she rotate on left side, inside?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Zen's taking a lot of damage. This is a Reinhardt thing. Reinhardt, like, if I realize, I'm going to say Reinhardt instead of me, but I will bag on myself for some of the stuff that I fuck up on. If there's a Pharah, the Reinhardt should know to put his shield in front and like know that Pharah is going to be doing that and like put the shield in front of the face so that whoever can take care of that, which there's not a lot, it's essentially Zen and I think Diva. That's it, right? Is there anybody else that can touch her at that comp?
Yeah.
Or in this comp?
Zarya sometimes.
Okay. If she's real low and playing stupid. Yeah, so that...
Yeah, if she's mid-range.
So something else I kind of noticed when I was watching another Scrim VOD review is I noticed other teams do this where they don't commit to the immediate comp. So this is a really interesting concept that I got to see kind of firsthand over this last week. But essentially what happens is that we saw this team that played, and the one team committed every time to their initial comp. And whether they lost or won, they committed to it and they stayed with it. And they ultimately ended up losing a lot because what would happen is the other team would see them, they would identify what the comp was, they would immediately speed back, change comps to match whatever or to counter whatever that other team was playing because the point doesn't unlock for, 15 seconds, right? I think that's what it is after the start. 20 seconds.
20.
That's a long time, especially if you have a Lucio. But essentially what they would do is they would see, they'd come out, they'd look, they'd scout, what's the comp? Cool, everybody run back, now we counter them. And you immediately pick, so that first fight, you go into it with the strongest composition you can, and you know that you're going to go into it the right way. I kind of really like that. And I asked the coach about that the other day, and he was saying that's like a really smart idea, because it gives you that initial fight as a kind of a win condition. Like you automatically go into it with an advantage, and if you win that fight, you automatically get the ult advantage too, which is huge. It is. It's interesting. So like the main thing to keep in mind in that thing is that we have to have comps that we understand where everybody switches to. That means that this is going to take discipline. I don't think this is going to happen right away with our team, but we have to know what we're going out with first off, and then we have to be really comfortable with like almost like a cheat sheet in our brains. Like they're running this, we're running this. Everybody go back and spawn, and everybody immediately switches and we speed back into the fight. It can't take more than like 10, 15 seconds. Anyway, okay, so
We should
absolutely,
try that.
I think we should. It's going to take a little bit of time because I don't think we know exactly who switches to what. Something else that was pointed out during this last game that we played in the Nevermore is that we seem to, I think I pointed it out actually, I'm quoting myself, that we don't always have the same people playing, and we don't always have 2-2-2. So a lot of the times when we go to switch comps, it's always like who's playing what. And I'm not sure how to resolve that. I think that's something we'll have to ruminate on. Maybe that's not the right word. We'll just have to think on it. We'll have to think about like how to approach that like individually. Like maybe roles decide between yourselves. Like if you're playing with your counterpart for some weird reason, like we're down a bunch of people and so it's just 6 of us, and you're playing with your sub or something. Decide amongst yourselves with those roles, like how you're going to do that. But we need to be able to make those switches fast. But I definitely think we should try that out. I think it's a good idea. Cool. Anything else anybody wanted to mention before I push play again? Okay. We've gotten 22 seconds into the game. We're doing real good. All right. All right. So the Zen goes down right away. Reinhardt fault, Diva fault. I'm gonna blame the Diva a little bit too because the Diva has DM, and if there is a Pharah like that, your job is to kind of get in her face while staying with the group at the same time. So maybe you can take this little platform up here, DM every other rocket, call attention to it. I don't know. Swat, did you say anything about the Pharah hitting you, or is it kind of really too quick?
I think that first one was too quick.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think we were caught off guard. We should have saw the Pharah immediately, and the thing should have adjusted, like, meaning, like, our Reinhardt should have been shielding, our Diva should have been on defense matrix. What's up?
I'm heading out.
Okay, hold on one second. Because...
You're my favorite. Thank you for my book.
What?
I said you're my favorite. Thank you for my book.
Of course, baby, I love you.
Thank you.
Initial 2 rockets, so that we have time to readjust. If that makes sense.
Can you say that again? I missed it.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
makes sense.
Usually when I play Diva, and like if we're running goats and I see a Pharah, I DM the first like 2 rockets that she's gonna shoot to give us time.
That's
to
a smart
readjust.
idea. I like that a lot. Only thing I'd add to that is call what you're doing. Be like, hey, Farah's gonna fuck us up unless you come back here and stop swinging like an idiot, or something. But yeah, that's a smart idea. I like that. Okay. I'm gonna play it again.
I got taken out by Pharah.
Oh, cool. We got it. I like watching SWAT Cat's perspective because he's one of the only people that I know consistently presses tab, and it's.
Are you kidding? Everybody
I
None of you guys
tab.
do it. You're all terrible.
Me too.
No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, guys. I
I'm
gotta
fucking
go.
with you guys. Chill out. Okay.
So
So the enemy team's running 2-2-2. They're running Mercy, Lucio, Pharah, Monkey, McCree, and Diva. I think this is a pretty standard comp for this map, right? Because lots of high ground usage. They can jump around with their tanks. Their healers are super mobile. I think generally when you run this, the Lucio kind of stays with the McCree and gives him extra mobility too, because he's pretty much the only one that is stationary and can't really get away. And honestly, like in terms of our comp, if I'm looking at this on paper, I feel like this is a bad comp to fight against with. Yeah, we lose this every time unless we do something spectacular with it. Does anybody have any other opinions about that?
I agree, because they can kite us really easily.
Yeah.
We can't
Like,
touch Pharmacy really.
The only thing
Diva
we
can
could
take
do
a little
is try to like get McCree off the top, because I assume that's where he'd be holding. He'd just drop onto ground and run away from us with Lucio speed.
Yeah, it's a real tough position. Like our only chance is really killing Lucio and McCree, and then after that we still have to deal with the rest of the team. And during our fight, we're going to be fighting people, so this is probably not a good comp. This should be the point where whoever's shot calling should be like, this comp's not going to work. Everybody die and reset and switch to something else.
Everybody instantly jump over down there.
Yeah, I think we do this thing. This is another thing that the coach mentioned to me, but we do this thing where we wait way too long to like observe and react. Like, do you remember a long time ago I mentioned something called the OODA loop?
No.
Yeah.
This is a lot. So
Yes.
there's like a military thing. It's called the OODA loop. It's a cycle. I'll repost it again in strategy after this video, but it's essentially a cycle of observing and orienting, and then making a decision and then acting on it. Overwatch is very similar in that cycle process. It's something where you observe as a team what's going on, you orientate. So like, where are they at? What are we doing? And now that I've observed this, how is this situation working? Then you make a decision. Is this going to work? How do we decide that? We need to switch to something that counters this and this because those are their win conditions, and then you make that action happen. So our process of that OODA loop, that cycle of observing and then making an action, is a little slow. Whoever is shot calling for these games, we need to make it very clear who's shot calling. If it's Spiffy on one of those, Spiffy, take it upon yourself. Like, as soon as you see something, just be like, this isn't working. And I want to make it clear, too, this is something else that the coach brought up, that the shot caller, and I was actually talking to Pizza about this the other day. If you're focused on a team role, so not tank, not DPS, not healer, if you're focused on being a shot caller, if you're focused on being a target caller, if you're focused on being a ult tracker, you have another job that is going to ultimately detract from your original job more, but it's going to be ultimately more valuable. So let's put it this way. Like, if we don't track ults, we're going to lose way more fights than if, Pizza tries his hardest on, off tank. It doesn't say a word, right? If we don't have our shot calling, we're going to lose way more fights than if he's, Lucioing the shit out of being a Lucio, right? Like, we essentially, like, we want you to pick your role. We want you to really embrace that role and understand that you're going to play a little bit worse than you play normally because you're focused on something else. But that's ultimately more valuable to the team than you fully 100% focusing on your role. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anybody disagree with that? Or
I think we actually talked about this like a while ago, back when we were first starting to introduce shot calling to like the team.
So a lot of the concepts I feel like we iterated over and we forgot about, or we just kind of like we tried something new. We kept trying different things. And talking with the coach the other day kind of reaffirmed a lot of the stuff that I think that we started with that we kind of went away from, and it's actually still really important.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So I think part of kind of maximizing the potential there is going to be whoever's doing those roles, find times to do it when it least detracts from your primary responsibility of playing the game. So like do it in between fights or in between actions when there's like little like lulls in the firefights or something.
Yeah,
like that.
you're absolutely right. And with like, if we're talking about like Spiffy in this example, right? Like Spiffy's the Lucio player. If we go in for the fight, there's the 2 times he has the opportunities to make that call, right? His first call is when we're approaching. He could be like, fuck that, we're kiting out, this doesn't work for us. And he calls us to pull back immediately. That's because he's not doing any Lucio things at that point, aside from moving. Like, he's not super focused on like trying to like wall ride and 360 kill a Pharah, which I know he can do. But he's not focused on that at that point. And then we engage, we're fighting. At that point, he's not supposed to be making shot calls except for ultimate usage if he finds a play that he thinks he can set up in the middle of it. But once he dies, especially, that's the other opportunity where it's like, okay, this isn't working. Now it's time to be a shot caller. What do we do? Yeah, and I think that makes sense. But yeah, I agree with you, Swat. I think that's a smart way to approach it.
I don't think we can run Zen goats against this.
I appreciate SWAT saying that.
The objective is
Dive?
So who was shot calling for this? Spiffy, are you on the call?
God, I just realized I was muted.
I was wondering why you were so quiet, but it's okay. Did you have anything you wanted to say as a comment to the last couple things we said?
No, that's okay. We can keep
Okay.
moving on.
Who was shot caller during this? Was it Spiffy or was it SWAT?
I think
Yeah,
Spiffy
it
was,
was
but
me.
for whatever reason, it seems like it didn't record the team
Okay.
comms.
Did it? Or is it just you?
I can hear him a little bit, and it's like
Yeah, I
very
can't even hear
light.
myself, and I'm
Like
usually
that.
loud as fuck. So okay,
Oh.
that makes sense. Okay, all right, that makes sense. So we're not going to hear Spiffy. Spiffy, stand up for yourself if we're saying like, oh, you should be doing this at this point, and you know that you did. Just say something, and we'll trust you on it. Okay.
Will do. Alright, so I got a 6K.
That's not true.
Oh, I see that.
All right, so wait, what did you call for, SWAT, as the switch? Dive? Okay.
Yeah, dive.
I suggested dive. I think we went with the McCree though.
So this is another thing that got brought up when I was talking to the coach, and just that we take way too long to switch. I think this is a familiarity thing again with who you're playing with and what roles you play, but we need to figure this shit out. Like, I think it might actually be a valuable concept for us to go into a practice range and literally just switch comps. Like, I know this is going to sound stupid, but go into a custom game with 6 people. We keep mixing it up, but we keep saying like dive, goats, zen goats, may goats, floats, etc., etc. Just keep doing that over and over.
What is floats?
You never heard of floats?
The Mason
I've never heard
float?
of it.
That is that's Winston.
Alright.
That's Winston goats.
I mean,
No, it's floats.
No,
Why is it
Here,
float?
I'll send you guys a link to it.
Because he floats like a
It's
butterfly.
absolutely
and stings like a
floats.
it's
All right. Well,
bee. Even
we'll
is there
debate.
like a
We'll talk about that later. Hold on. Regardless, the point of the fact is that we should. I honestly think it would be valuable for us to just get used to switching fast, like having the comps that we know we're gonna run, and then when we call for those comps, knowing exactly that we can switch immediately. Like, no downtime. We go into spawn room. Everybody knows exactly where they're clicking on the board, etc., etc. Because it's going to save us time. It's going to give us extra fights. It's going to make us more scary to the enemy. If we're able to adapt that quickly, it's going to be scary, and we're going to win some extra fights because of that. Okay, let's start playing.
With every death.
So we called for dive, and we ended up with not dive.
well, maybe Spiffy said something else.
Do you remember Spiffy?
yeah. I remember calling this
Okay.
comp.
All right.
I honestly don't remember my thought process behind it because I feel like at the time Pharah was just like a big like factor their damage, and I was like, I think I was thinking like we just need to take care
Yeah.
of her.
So McCree and Diva and Anna a little bit too can take care of it.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, let's analyze our comp versus theirs. So, what do you guys think our strengths are in our comp, and or did we switch on to what we needed to? This is open.
We have a lot of
I don't
pressure
know, we
on
have-
Far, I think.
Yeah, we have good distance like DPS, and we have those lucky shots from Hanzo that you get every
Okay.
once in a while.
Yeah, so we've got. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we have like we can take fights from like medium to long range.
Yeah, I think medium definitely. I don't know about long range. Why do you think long range?
That's good.
Okay,
Hanzo?
Medium
it's
to
all
long.
good.
Hanzo's the only real long range character we have.
They have a far up.
Poke long range, but he's not gonna do enough damage to actually make a significant
Yeah.
in the game.
Ana can put a decent amount of pressure on the pharmacy from long range.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually very true. I think this comp is a lot better than what we were running to start with because we have the mid range with McCree. The Hanzo could burst down like a dive tank or something if they decide to come in, or one of the Winston or something, and then just take pot shots at either the McCree or the Diva or the Winston during the times in between. ADHD can get in the face, the Diva can jump in the face, and then yeah, I think the Ana, if she's not fully engrossed in trying to heal, can take shots too at the same time. So I think that's a lot better of a comp in my opinion. And this map's really hard to play long range. So like the one of the things that the coach was talking to me about was when you pick maps, or when you pick comps for maps, you have to remember and think about where the engagements are going to happen and how the enemy team is going to react to the distances you're trying to take the engagements. So like, let's say Busan, right? Like Busan downtown, way open. You could split, you can create crossfire, you can really widen that area out and just like have an entire, you can engulf a section of space and make that your own. But with gardens, right? Like gardens is a little bit harder to do that with. Like there's some sight lines, there's left and right sight lines that you can take that are pretty long, but that's it. And honestly, like, let's say you're running a Widow or something, right? Unless you're protecting her in the back, she's only going to get that left and right, and the Pharah can just try to hide around corners and stuff like that, which is going to make her ultimately less effective. But I think going mid-range and fighting this at mid-range and short, it makes more sense. But that's my opinion.
Our comp also can melt tanks really.
Oh yeah, big time. We get an anti in there, Hanzo Storm Arrow, and then make right click. You'll fucking tear apart a tank in a second. All right, let's see how we play this out.
Huh? That's questionable on the Zarya.
Yeah, I actually don't agree with the Zarya pick. I think the D.Va made more sense.
Yeah.
I think we say
I think we swapped back.
Let's see.
Like after a fight or something, I think we switched back.
All right, so we switched to a Zarya, and we committed to inside. This is that part where we're talking about like where we're taking our engagements. We're saying right here that we want to take a close to mid-range fight. Is what we're saying. We're saying mostly close though, because this is danger close. We're very, very close to the Reinhardt. Pharah's pretty goddamn close to where we're at. And we're for sure going to take this engagement inside, unless they just sit there, which is probably not going to happen. I think we speed into them is what I remember, but
I think we got like Pharah ulted and died.
Yeah.
I think
David had Pharah.
I think our idea, we can't hear the comms right now, but I remember the call being said that we wanted to push McCree off a high ground or something, right? And so we were going to push inside up, and then push him off a high ground and take that space over, and then win the fight from there. Was that the idea?
Oh yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
I don't think it's terrible. Pharah has boop capabilities, so it makes it really hard for us to actually maintain that spot. And also, like, if she's getting pocketed and we have the McCree and the Ana, that's it. Ana's mostly going to be healing at this point. It's going to be really hard for her to take shots. If we speed up, so imagine we speed up ramp, right? We go up ramp, we come up with the current comp that we're running with. How hard is it going to be to kill the McCree? Not too hard. I think we actually get the McCree pretty early. The Pharah and the Mercy are going to be the biggest pain in the ass, though, because like we essentially only have McCree that can really take real shots at her, and she's getting pocketed, so it's going to be really hard for her.
Yeah, I remember just like as we called out, like I know I probably called it out, but like as we started going up top, I thought about like, oh, Pharah can boop us, and then I just never said anything about it.
I don't 100% blame you for that, because I think at that point, like, this is almost past the point of return, like no return. I think you could have said something like right here, and we could have like went on point instead and tried to fight, but it probably still wouldn't have ended well. Probably would have ended a little bit better, but yeah, I don't fully blame you. I think it's almost past the point of no return. I don't know. If you see something, say something. Well, let's make that a tenet of our team. If you see something, just say something. If you know.
It also doesn't help that my mic cuts out a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's see what happens. All right, so Reinhardt shield at the back. It's a good thing. Now we're looking at this fatal front, this door, meaning fatal front, meaning like they know we're coming up there and they know they can focus fire inside of it. Big fucking shot. Nice shot. SWAT gets I think that was a headshot on the McCree sitting up there. So we accomplished what we set out for. This was the initial
body shot.
I'm sorry. Did you really need to clarify?
Just
Oh no, what
I
happened?
don't want you to.
Fuck, I got kicked out. Hold on. Fuck, yeah, I got kicked out, sorry.
Did you get kicked out of your
I
own
did.
movie theater?
Well, I pushed forward. Okay. Alright, so we get the pick. Fantastic. Now our idea is like, hey, we'll just move up top and we'll control the space, right? Reinhardt's too far forward. So like your two damage dealers being at the door is at an extremely vulnerable position. Meaning like, if we're going to control this space and get you guys out on a spot where we know you're not going to get booped off the edge or just get pummeled to death from above, we want to position our tank to where the shield is facing the point of danger, meaning the Pharah is our biggest threat, and we want McCree to focus the Pharah more than anything. So I should be at the door. The Reinhardt should be at the door, making sure the 2 DPS can get fully out. We should be tight, essentially, right now. Does that make sense? Okay, so we get out. There's the... why does it keep going backwards? That's weird.
It's not going for me.
Hold on. Is it not going for...
Oh, Swatcat's the leader.
Oh.
Oh, I am.
It's SWAT Cat's theater.
Should I hit play?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's the boop. And then our Reinhardt. Can you pause?
Watch the far, guys.
Alright, so first thing happens is Zarya gets booped off. That's really shitty. That's to be expected. I'm actually surprised more people didn't get booped off because of that. Reinhardt charging Winston, good idea, not? I don't know. Like, it confirmed a kill, but it also left all the people that were up on top out. So, not a good idea in team play.
Well, I think maybe you saw, like, oh, Zarya got killed. Let me get back inside. Like, by charging the Winston into the...
Honestly, like, my mentality at that point was, I saw the Winston, I know that we were about to get booped, and I wanted to get off of that, and I wanted to spread out since we were kind of up at that point. Or we were even. So I wanted to, like, my brain was, it's 5v5. If I kill this Winston, it's 5v4, and our chances of winning are really high. And if everybody goes back inside and hides, we should be fine. That's what I was thinking. But honestly, like, looking at this now, I think staying at the top would have made more sense. Yeah, just because, like, if we were tracking Pharah's ult and we knew she had it, then no. We wouldn't have congregated like that. We probably would have set up, like, Crossfire or something. But I think with our knowledge, because I don't think anybody called that the Pharah had ult. I don't think we knew that at that point. It probably would have made more sense to just hang out up there, shield the Pharah, have McCree really focus the shit out of the Pharah. And I think that was something else we didn't say anything about, because, like, Lamp actually confirms the kill on the Winston. So I charge him into that back corner, and then I think Lamp rolls over there and kills him, and then the Pharah ults. Is that correct?
Yeah, I got spooked over by Winston's little jump thing over to the side of the door, and then as soon as I saw you charge, I decided to sort of roll and right click since I was already...
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's something where the shot caller could have been like, or before we even started the engagement, like, after we kill the McCree, the next biggest threat is the Pharah. So McCree, we're going to be pocketing the fuck out of you to kill that Pharah. That probably would have made the most sense. We pick off threats one by one, and we win the fight, right? Like, that's how you win fights. You pick off the win conditions, and then you win. That's it. Does anybody have anything they want to add?
I feel like for their comp, most of their win condition is going to come from their Pharah.
Yeah, I agree.
So she should be most likely the first one to die every fight. If you kill her, you win the fight.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're very right. All right, you can play it. Yeah. Yeah, this is a reset right here.
Jump off the edge spot.
Oh.
So I got to see the bottom of the map.
I don't think I'm going to be able to stay alive as Hanzo against this comp.
Never surrender.
But you
We
saying
have a McCree.
something.
I can tickle him with Tracer as well, or go Sombra.
So that took us a full 15 seconds to decide. And we're still not even engaged yet. I'm going to keep counting.
Alright, yeah, let's go main.
Alright, can you pause again?
Narrow corridors.
So it took us about 20 seconds to actually pick a comp and get out of the door. That's way too long. I think 20 seconds equate, because it's a second per percentage, right? Something like that. So that's like...
I think when Swatcat died, you guys were at like 45% or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I can't tell what the percentage is at the top right now. Yeah, big thing is that's that switching thing again where we need to pick something. I'm not 100% sure what the Tracer was supposed to be doing here. So I think the only thing we switched was Tracer, right? Did we switch anything else?
Diva.
Oh, we did get the Diva. Okay, good. So we identified that the Zarya didn't make any sense. That was a good swap. That's something we should have figured out during the second push, but I'm glad that we picked that one. Swap. What was the reasoning behind the Tracer?
Mostly just to stay alive, because I didn't think between the dive tanks and the pharmacy, I didn't think I could stay alive as Hanzo on the ground. And then I figured with Tracer, if someone got low, I could at least clean up the kills with tickle damage.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think now, like in retrospect, that there might have been any other picks that would have made more sense?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
I think this is an opinion based thing. I think another hit scan actually would have been smart. Yeah, a soldier or even like an Ashe or honestly, like I like seeing Lamp on Widow take those long shots. Like we could do an approach where like somebody plays like a mid range like an Ashe or who's breathing into their microphone. Jesus. Like if we have SWAT running something like a hit scan or something that sticks with the group, and then we kind of peek out, we engage, we start fighting at them, we kind of like draw the attention, and then without them seeing the Widow pops out and takes a shot, we get that win. We get that double hit scan. They have to switch off of that Pharah. But then that kind of leaves us vulnerable afterwards. So I don't know. It's kind of an opinion, but I do like having the double hit scan. Maybe double mid range hit scan. Soldier, Ashe, McCree.
Running a Widow. It's just like running Widow on maps like these. I'm depending on the comp, or actually, depending on the comp, I'm very susceptible to like, because I can't do anything if I get like.
That makes sense.
And then like there's the Pharah. She has many angles just where she can shoot vertical from me, and hit scan vertically shooting is really.
What do you guys think of the double mid range then, like an Ashe, McCree, or something?
I think McCree Soldier might be fine.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. That's what I meant to say. Okay.
I think it would be good if we set them up at two different angles.
Get a little crossfire going. Really put pressure on that Pharah to where she literally has to stay in one spot. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, we can.
And then plus with the Diva too, the Pharah is. I mean the Pharah is like 0.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to the coaching thing I was talking about again is just like we need to know exactly what our main condition is to win. If everybody's like, if our target focus is Pharah when we engage and we have 2 hit scans, that she's dead. She's not gonna live through that fight. We're gonna make sure of it. We've got competent DPS and we've got competent like off tank, so like we know that we're gonna be able to take her down. And then after we win that, we have to deal with a McCree, a Monkey, and a Diva. Cool. Like they're not gonna win that fight, guaranteed. All right, you can play it again.
We get to see SWAT Cat right here. Grandmaster Tracer play.
Pause it real quick. What happened with Spiffy?
Looks like he.
I got deleted.
Interesting.
It looks like he got flashed.
Did you get flashed or what happened?
With the McCree.
Yeah, I got flashed and then Pharah hit me with the direct.
Did you not, like, was I not holding a shield up or something? Was I off swinging?
No, I might have been out of position too. I don't remember.
Okay. Whatever the case may be, let's say both scenarios. Let's say tanks weren't paying attention to you and we let you die. Tanks pay more attention, shield, DM for those things. Spiffy, if you were out of position, then just try to be more aware that you are a very important part of moving our fat asses around, especially me. And I definitely need you to sustain. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It looks like we're gonna win this though, is my guess, because we got the McCree and we got the Mercy, which means the pharmacy is gone. It's just the Pharah now, and we have 2 tanks to deal with and a Lucio. So let's see how this unfolds.
You're down. I'm on Pharah. Pharah's one. You got beaten. You want Diva as well? Got a Mac. Call targets, call targets. Come on, Lucio.
Can you pause it? Yeah, so I can't hear the comms. I'm guessing if Splat said call targets that we were quiet and just focused on trying to play. Again, this is that part we were talking about where we need to have a clear focus of what we're doing. I am on board and energized after the other night of getting a coaching session that we need to go back to this idea of our roles being very clear. The shot caller being very clear that that's what they're doing. Target caller, I want you to focus the shit out of target calling for that entire engagement, and making it very clear to everybody on the team what we're trying to accomplish before we go in. If our goal is to kill Pharah, we're going to kill Pharah first, then we're going to go on to the next target. And the target caller needs to be aware that as soon as that Pharah is dead, as you're attacking the Pharah, what's the next best thing? What is the next target that's going to be most important to you as you're approaching it? Then after that, what's the next one? Like think through those things as we go through it. I'm going to double down on that. Spiffy, you are our shot caller when we're playing. Target caller, I still don't think we have one. I think it's supposed to be main tank, right? Or who's usually the shot caller or for the target caller? Is it off heals?
It's usually you.
Is that a good role to have for target calls?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Goats, I would.
Goats, yes. What about 222?
Like 222, no. I think like
Well,
main healer.
If our off healer is shot calling, then our main healer probably should be.
I like that.
Calling.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
And then all track calls.
Okay, so the only exception to that is when we play goats. Then our exception to that is then I become the target caller. I want to double down on this, and I want to make it very clear to the team. If you are the shot caller, I want you to think about this is the flow that I want you to think about when we go in. Before we start, what is the comp we're playing for the map? What is our win condition? How do we put together this comp that works for this map? Where are we taking the engagement? If we're playing gardens, we know it's mid to close range. How do we win that engagement? What are the strongest things we can pick for that? What route are we taking to get there? And then during the fight, if you see opportunities to make a call for like an alt usage or something like that comes up during the fight, you can make that call. And then you adjust. I want you to think about adjusting. I want you to think about what the comp is working, what's not working, how do we win, what's their win condition, how do we adjust for that? And then just go through that cycle. Keep iterating over it. And we don't expect you to be perfect. Like, experiment. Make calls on stuff that you think makes sense. And when we do these footage reviews and we look back and we go, hey, this comp didn't make sense against that, then you know in your head for the next engagement. Every time we play a game, we play a scrim, we get better and better and we learn stuff from what we're doing. So it's okay to make calls. Just be confident in what you're calling. Think about that process of looping over it over and over again. And we will get better. I guarantee it, especially on the shot calling stuff. Target focus, target caller, that's what you should be thinking about the whole time. Who needs to die? And if your shot caller at the beginning says like, hey, there's Pharah's the win condition, boom, top of your head, Pharah's our fucking first target. After she dies, what's next? What's next after that person? What's after that person? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that should be kind of the focus of it. Our clear comms, what that means and what that actually means, like after watching footage of hearing like an actual team and contenders, their comms and what that, and having somebody explain to me what their comms are actually, what clear comms means, quote unquote, like what that actually entails. It means that your shot caller is doing the strategy calls, your target caller is calling the target, and that the other people on the team are making observations, but they're not saying anything else. So if you're an off tank and you're not one of those target callers, and you're not the shot caller, you're not saying we should go after Pharah. Or if you're, DPS and you're not one of those roles, you should not be saying what we should be doing. You should just be observing and saying, be one of the eyes of the team. We have 6 people playing, so if you see a cooldown, say it. But that's what clear comms mean. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Yep. Okay, we can play again.
From above.
so weird not hearing any.
It is. Because it's like giving me. We're doing footage review, so I'm thinking like, oh, we're playing like shit because nobody's saying anything.
Like I legit thought like, why is SWAT Cat the only one talking?
Because we're all sad. I see my name pop up a lot. Lampshade's popping up. Lamp. My SWAT. Lamp, SWAT, Twitchy.
This is more of a, how about this? Let's go Reaper here. Reaper McCree. And then beat them on the low ground with that.
Alright, hey, can you pause real quick?
Quickly on the low ground.
I'm doing this right now. I'm writing down our fucking comps. Our default comps for every one of these maps. I think I've made 6 sheets like this. I'm going to share it with all of you. We're going to collectively come up with our strats for each one of the maps initially. So we can switch, but I want to have a comp for every map. And you guys are all going to hold me accountable to this. Everybody's going to hold me accountable. I'm going to share this with every single one of you. And if we run a comp and I don't write it down, I want one of you to write it down, okay?
Okay.
All right. I'll be
Absolutely
right back
not.
now,
Come back on right now.
All right.
Okay.
Be wrecked.
You say be wrecked?
He
It
says
sounded like
beer
he said be wrecked. Okay, that is the fucking shield, the Google sheet for it. You all have access to it. We're gonna do this together. I'm not relying on myself anymore for this stuff. We are a team. We need to figure this stuff out together, and we need to hold each other accountable for it. I can't keep doing everything because I keep doing all this shit and I do it poorly if I spread myself too thin. I need you guys to hive mind this. Put your brains together. Put this in here. So put the map name. I don't know. Before we move on, because like that map, do you guys like the comp that they ran against us on Gardens?
It's pretty good.
You think? What do you think's the optimal comp for Gardens?
I do like having a McCree on Gardens. And then I actually feel like the comp that we were running for the second half of Gardens at the end there, I think that's a very good comp.
Okay,
for it.
I like that.
Because McCree can control the high ground, he can control the air, and then you have frontline presence with Ryan and Diva.
I don't know how to put this because a lot of the times we don't.
All right, I'm back.
Fuck, I'll put DPS 1, DPS 2. Do you guys think I should label these any differently? Okay. This doesn't mean you have to play support. It just means I'm trying to account for all 6 people. All right, so Gardens, what did we run? We had a Reinhardt, right? Should we ran the Reinhardt or a Winston with that?
I think either is fine, depending on what we expect. But Ryan to start out if we're running a McCree.
Hey, shut up! Reinhardt or Winston. My cat gets excited because she plays with toys and she kills them, quote unquote. She like puts them in her mouth and she brings them over to me like she killed a rat, and then she like meows like, look at what I did. Isn't that cool? All right, so it's Reinhardt, Winston, Diva, right? We're not running Zarya. I don't think that makes any sense. And we're not going to run a Hog. DPS was McCree. What was the other DPS?
Either Tracer or Pharah.
For ours?
Tracer or Ash, I thought.
What do y'all think of just like running an Ash instead of a McCree?
Okay.
McCree or Ash.
I don't want to add too many ores.
I think so the reason I think McCree is a little bit better on that comp is because I feel like he's a little less diveable right now than Ash, just because he has that flash fan ability.
Well, the fan just got nerfed a little bit.
It did, yeah, you're right.
But no, the reason I say Ash is just because of the ability to get away, just in case she doesn't die. Because
Yeah, she can take high ground more easily.
Yeah. And then she has the dynamite to do just AoE damage.
All right, let's do Ash now. All right, so Reinhardt, Diva, Ash. What's the? You want to play Pharah and a Mercy? Right.
Yep.
What's the other?
Sounds good.
Lucia, right? Lucia's in everything. That's another thing that my the coach was talking about. We're crazy unless it's a very specific comp. Like we have a really specific weird case that we're trying to do. We should never not run Lucio. Lucio is essentially in every single thing. What is the name of this map, by the way? I forgot. It's
University.
Oasis. Sorry, I was trying to remember what the overall thing is. Oasis Gardens. Okay.
And I looked up the percentages, and like Lucio has played 90% of the time, and
so yeah, here's the idea behind the Lucio, and it didn't click for me until I had the coach kind of explain this, but like it's not just about moving the group together. So if you run a Lucio, it's also about running the Lucio with pairs. So like, he gave the example like if you had a McCree, right, and but the rest of your group is like a dive. Your Lucio now enables that McCree to be way more mobile. It gives him this whole other dimension to play that was not there before. So like Lucio, if you're playing, let's say we're playing this quad DPS thing where it's Lucio, Ana, Hammond, Sombra, fucking whatever, just a bunch of other, like a couple other DPS, right? The other DPS are out there essentially they're fucking shooting from crossfire. They're all over the map. They're spread out. Let's say like they're real spread out on a map, right? Let's go back to downtown Busan again. I just like using that example because that was the one that he was kind of explaining it to me with. Even though, all the DPS are spread out like that, Ana's able to hit her shots on all these targets all the way across the map as long as they're aware of LOS. And then that Lucio, even though it's not like, hey, we're running goats and we need mobility to run in, that Lucio enables the Ana to survive because if a Winston jumps on her, fuck the Winston, boop him away, speed your Ana away. It enables your McCree that if he sees an opportunity, he's like, oh shit, their backline's way open. Speed me in. You fucking speed. Your McCree goes in the back, fucks him up, does all sorts of stuff. The Lucio, the reason it's ran in every single comp is because it enables a group or it enables like a strategy to be fast as shit. And that is the key thing that's really important in Overwatch. It's like, it's in combat too, but it's like, you want things to be as fast as possible. You want to be able to like just pounce on shit and make movements happen as quick as you possibly can. So I think that's why we're pretty much be running Lucio on everything, unless it's like a really specific example. What was this one called? University?
Yep.
All right. All right. So is this what we're running? We're running a McCree, Lucio, Ana, Reaper, and a Diva. What do you guys think of this comp?
I think maybe a Zarya.
Why is that?
Because it looks like we're running like almost a death ball here.
I disagree with the Zarya. Because we know that they've been running a Pharah, and we need something to protect our ground people from the splash damage.
Yeah, but in University, the ceilings are low, so Zarya can deal damage to Pharah quickly. If McCree and Zarya focus her,
it's less about dealing damage and more about just giving McCree space to work. Like, he can kill her himself if he needs to, but not if he gets 2 rockets to the face, right?
So...
that's basic.
I was gonna say I actually agree with Swat's call for the Diva in this specific example. Do you guys think we should run this as the default comp though? Let's say we're not playing against a team that plays a Pharah. We're just playing against a team that plays XXXXXXX.
I think it works pretty well.
I think it depends on what the team wants to do. Like, what do y'all feel like? Do y'all feel like better rushing in, sort of like dealing sort of high damage? So like basically this comp is basically built to win the ground fight and contest the air, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, does that seem like a good comp though? Like that. Does that seem like what we want to accomplish? You think this is pretty versatile? Let's say like against any other comp that they could run against. Let's say worst case scenario first. Like worst case scenario meaning the enemy team has a hacker or they have somebody streaming on our team and they fucking looked at our team and they knew exactly what we were playing. What would you run against our team?
Goats.
Run goats. Right? Like why? Why would you run goats?
Just to matrix the Reaper and the McCree while they run
Yep.
us over.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, because if you want to, if we're mostly if our win condition is the ground fight, if they just focus the ground fight and beat us there, then we're dead.
So.
And Goats is one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's worst case scenario. Best case scenario, they play what we're expecting, which is a Pharah and the rest of the bullshit that they had, right? And Reaper shreds Winston, shreds the Diva. Our McCree is getting shielded, and he fucks up the Pharah, and the Diva is DMing, etc., etc. That's the best case scenario. That's what we're playing against. The best case scenario, we're hoping. So I guess the question. Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like anything that's not goats, you can work with.
Yeah, I agree. So I think this is a good. Did you guys want to mark this as our comp for this map?
I think so.
Fuck it, let's do it.
Until
the meta changes. This is, by the way, somebody mentioned all the PTR updates. We're not going to plan. We can play. There was somebody that was asking for a scrim in PTR, and I was like, I almost bid on it. But until that stuff is established, because they change shit all the time before it gets actually released, we're not going to plan for that because it's all subject to change before it actually gets released.
Hey guys, sorry, I actually got to run. Can somebody else take
it? I don't know who it's going to give it to. If you just leave, I think it'll...
I think it's random.
It'll be random.
I will leave.
Alley bad.
Is Allie leader?
Looks like it. Yep.
Hold on. SWAT, thank you, dude, for coming by. I appreciate it, and for uploading the video.
Bye, SWAT.
Spiffy, could you stop fucking breathing on the mic?
Dude, for some reason, like, now my mic is deciding to pick up literally everything that I do, and I hate it.
I thought Twitchy was about to say, can you stop breathing?
I thought he was just gonna mute you.
I already did. No, I'm not gonna mute him. I was a dick to him last night, so I'm gonna be super nice to him for that.
Just a little.
I mean, you muted Hot Bread after one.
It's because it's Hot Bread. I'll mute Hot Bread immediately. She's not even listening right now. I guarantee Hot Bread's not even listening. I'm actually surprised she's listening. I really thought she wouldn't be.
Hot Bread's listening.
We're having a conversation about VOD reviews.
What are you eating?
Pasta.
She's out there eating dinner. That's why.
I want some
Oh my
pasta.
god. Okay. All right.
Me too.
All right. So I want to make it clear as we play these maps, I want to record what works and what doesn't work. And honestly, like, I don't expect us to go. I don't want us to do a grind session where we go through these maps piece by piece and we write down all of our comps and everything. But I want to, every time we play a scrim or every time we play a tournament game, to look at the review session, and during the review session go through this and write down what we're going to do. And then I want it to be, I think I'm going to try to put a schedule together. We're going to try to do a day where we just literally, it's going to be like 30-40 minutes of us just swapping. Like, I'm going to be like, all right, Oasis Gardens, we're going to play this fucking comp. Go. Oasis University, play our regular comp. Switch to that. Switch to dive. Now switch back. Like, I just want us to get fast at it. I want us to get real quick at it. So, like, we speed out, we scout. Oh my god, they're running a Pharah. Fuck it, go back. We go back, switch to this. We immediately switch. Before the point even unlocks, there's 10 seconds left. We rush in there and we have the exact comp we want. That's what I want more than anything else. I honestly think we can do that.
I think
okay,
so too.
You can play.
Oh, okay. When you said you could play, that like threw me off. I was like, what? Play Overwatch?
Yeah, I think straight into that.
No.
Just go on their least mobile heroes.
So I heard SWAT say that we want to go straight into them, which is true. This is the ground war comp.
Udon, try to deny that Pharah as much as you can. Speed is in.
Alright, pause it real quick.
Alright, back now.
Alright, so this is the point where, honestly, it probably was 5 seconds ago, but the point of when we looked at them in the scout phase, which is, who has been watching Al this last like couple weeks? I assume everybody, right? Like most everybody. If you watch Al, their scout phase, it's very clear when the scout phase happens. I really wish. Can you give me lead again? Is that an option?
I don't know. Let's see. Maybe I can click on your name.
Yeah,
or
like
something?
right click on it or something. See if anything comes up.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I can leave.
No, because it's gonna go to somebody else.
Or actually, why don't you just start the room over and just start it at this
4:14.
time?
Okay, yeah, let's do that. How do I do that?
Alright.
4:14.
Does everybody have to leave?
Create another Twitchy and chill,
All right,
or maybe.
Yeah, I'll do
We
another one.
can-
It'll be called Twitch and Chill.
Oh.
No, it's Twitch and Chill.
Nice.
Enter name.
The reason I want to show this is because I want to show something. I want to show something real quick about like how these phases of the fight work. This goes back to like what we were talking. This is a long time ago, so a lot of you guys are not new, but you're here pretty recently in comparison to like some of the people have been here before. So to give you a backstory of what happened, we started this team and we did a bunch of classes essentially, like literally like we had PowerPoints and we talked about like concepts about the game. And one of the things that we talked about was like phases of a fight, right? Does everybody remember that? Whoever was here for that?
I remember that.
All right, so the whole point of that was to establish, like, and get in everybody's mind that there are distinct phases of a fight in between each one of them. Meaning, like, there's a poke phase, there's an initiation phase, there's a brawl phase, and there's a cleanup phase in every single fight. So what I'm going to do is I just want to play a little bit of my boys in blue. I had to pick the Dallas Fuel game.
Fuck Dallas.
No. But essentially, like, what I want to show is like how these guys kind of approach each one of the fights, and I'm gonna pick a random fight. All right, so they just got done picking up a fight. Dallas Fuel's got 35%. This is Busan downtown. Is everybody here, by the way? Twitch and chill. I only see 2, 4, 5. I only see 5. There's 6. 2, 4, 6, 8. I should have 9 here.
Should have 8.
2, 4. Oh yeah, SWAT's not gonna join. I should have 8. 2, 4, 6. I have 6. I need 2 more.
Well, are you a seat?
Yeah, I am a seat.
Okay.
I've got pizza. I've got Allie. I've got HB.
Red. Aw, HB sitting next to me.
Who
How
is
sweet.
mitochondria spelled wrong?
That's not spelled
I think
wrong.
it is.
That's the powerhouse.
No.
No.
No, that's not spelled wrong. That's spelled right.
Who is the other Alibab? Get out of here.
All right, you guys.
Someone was named Gohan before. Kind of tilted me,
That's
actually.
pretty funny. All right, hold on. Who are we missing then? I don't understand.
Max.
I'm pretty sure Max was the one that was.
All right, he
Gohan.
might not be on. Anyway, all right. So, what was I trying to get at? All right, the point of this is Dallas Fuel just won their fight. They're running goats right now. Snore, right? They're running Zen goats, whatever. Philadelphia Fusion's got a bunch of ults. I don't really want to talk about this in terms of ult usage or what's brilliant and what they did. I just want you to think about the phases. All right, so right now, what's happening is as soon as Philadelphia Fusion at this top corner right here, their main tank's up here, right? You have somebody that's either mobile or somebody who has a large health pool, or both, preferably both, like a diva or something like that can stay alive or whatever. But in this case, it's OGE who's playing the main tank. Main tank's positioned up at the corridor. They know where the spawn is. There's only 2 options for the spawn to be able to come out of. They can either go through that main area or they can go through that side one. But you get sight lines of both exactly where OGE's at. This is the scouting phase. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to assess what the enemy team is playing. They're pressing tab if it's in the middle of the game. You can see the comp by pressing tab, so it's not as important. It's more important about the location of where they're going. But I want the team to think about what it is at the beginning. At the beginning of the fight, you don't get to press tab. The scout phase is really important. I forgot what the timing is. I think is it 20 seconds? I think it's 20 seconds before you get to press tab and actually see what the enemy team is playing. But essentially, that initial scout phase is really important because it's not just where are they, it's what are they playing. So you want to be in a position where you're not overextending, you're not going to get collapsed on, you can see things, you can identify what it is, and you're communicating what that is to the team. So like in this case with Dallas Fuel, OGE's doing that. He's looking forward. They already know what the enemy team is. He just wants to know where they're going and how they're doing it. So this is that poke phase. So he saw scout. Now they're just kind of exchanging stuff. They're still kind of scouting. It looks like Philadelphia Fusion. This is poke. This is poke. This is absolutely poke. So initial phase scout is before any shots are fired. They just want to look. Poke phase is Diva's up here trying to look at where the position's at. This Diva, Poco, is communicating back to his team. Essentially, is that Poco? It is, right? No, it's EQ. I don't. Ew, gross. I don't like EQ. Anyway, EQ is up there. He's trying to like essentially tell where everybody's at, and so whatever the movement is they're about to do, he's trying to communicate where their target is and how they can get to it. Essentially, he's like, this is the poke phase. He's touching, he's scouting, he's poking. So Philadelphia Fusion's coming around the back. They scouted. They decided where the enemy was at and what they were going to do. They decided we're going to commit to this back alley, and then we're going to initiate. This is the poke. They're still poking. Now we're initiated. This becomes a fight now. So the phase, why these are so clear now is because like they're very concise about not engaging before it's too late. They don't want to engage when it's sloppy. They don't want to waste any time. They don't want to waste anything. They want to win these fights. They have clear ideas about what they're doing before they go in. So now we're in the fight. Fighting. Bunch of ults. Ghost is fucking boring because it's just an exchange of ults. Carpe goes down. This is a big deal. Carpe being in GOATs, and you guys probably already know this, but essentially the Zarya is your main DPS in GOATs. It should be. I think we play GOATs like Reinhardt's the DPS for some reason, but honestly, like Zarya should be the main force. She should be at almost 100 energy all the time. As soon as she dies, especially if it's Carpe on their team, they lost that. So immediately, Philadelphia Fusion calls, that's a retreat. We lost that fight. They started going back up the hill. This is cleanup phase. See how clean that was? It's done. Literally, that was, how many seconds was that? 30 seconds total. No, it's 25 seconds total. I think from start to finish. They went from scout, poke, initiate, brawl, cleanup. Done. Right? Shit's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's what we need to get to. We need to get to the point to where we can do those phases like that. Right, 4:14.
Yep.
Sir.
Fuck. Okay. Alright, so this is our initial phase. Let's think about this the same way that we're watching Ghosts, right? This is the scout phase. And provided I can't hear any comms right now, so we don't know what we're actually saying. I'm pretty sure I remember calling goats immediately. Like, I think at this point right here, I was like, goats. That was our scout phase. Now we're poking. And we didn't call for an initiation. This is where, this is the big difference between, like, really coordinated teams and, like, you know, tier 5 teams like us, right? Like, tier 5 being, like, we're not even... We can't win. We can't even get into the top tiers of Open Division right now. We're not that we're bad. We're good compared to a lot of the Overwatch community. We're on the top in terms of that. But like us moving in like this, there's no call for an initiation. I'm a dumb Reinhardt. I want to swing. Bah, bah, I just want to come in there and swing. So I start swinging. We start poking. We didn't fully commit to this. Where's our Reinhardt at?
Twitchy. You say you call goats at the beginning. 20. You called goats 20 seconds at the point on live.
Yes.
Why would we brawl?
We shouldn't. Goats? You're right. You're completely right. At that point, I mean, that's the question. What do we do at that point then?
Go back and switch.
Why don't we go
exactly? But we didn't know that until today, right?
So here's my question. We always have a problem when the other team goes goats when we say counter goats.
Okay. What is the what?
Everybody gets confused on whether or not we're counter goatsing or we're countering goats.
Well, what makes more sense? Are we better at goats than them?
Depends on map.
Possibly.
I would say.
Well, wait, Lamp. Elaborate on what you said.
I said depends on map. Like if we're running, say Dorado, for a map and they decide to run goats on attack and we're defending, just run range and beat their asses.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like
countering goats, but like if it's a map like
Goats.
this, I would say just goats be goats.
I think that's the best bet. I think he's 100% right.
Yeah.
I think best case scenario, we have to outgoats them. And if we're not outgoatsing them, then this session becomes different. Our review session becomes what did we do in goats that we fucked up and lost versus why are we engaging with this comp? I think you're 100% right, Pizza. Like, yes, we knew that we can go back and switch. Like, Allie was like, yeah, we didn't. I mean, we knew that. But, come on. Like in all honesty, like, our team is at the idea, like, at the point, right, at this match, when we're watching this match, our team is at the understanding that if we are up this close and we're already in the initiation phase, we just engage. That's how our team plays right now. And I think we should change it. I think that's 100% accurate. I think it's Pizza brought up a really good point. Why do we engage? We have those clear phases, right? We scouted, we saw what they had. We knew we're not going to win that fight, but we still engaged. So, future state, we need to see that. We need to get in our scout phase and be like, this is not going to work, and immediately call the pullback and switch into goats. If they're going to run goats into this was our worst case scenario. Remember, Swat was mentioning it before he left. He essentially said, I think against every other comp, this is a very strong comp. And he was right. I agree with that. That's why I wrote it down on the map. If they play goats, though, we have to play goats to go against it. And I think that's where we're at right now. We have to play goats against this. So let's see what we do.
Can goats just leave the meta?
It might be. I'm not holding my breath or anything. We'll see. I'm hoping it will, but until that day and until it's clear and cut that goats is dead, we will continue to work on goats.
Okay, we can't engage though.
All right, so I only hear SWAT say that we can't engage. So we engage the enemy team. By the way, the other part about us playing against shitty teams is that they also make stupid mistakes. Like, they should have realized that they could have fucking steamrolled us right at the beginning. If this was a Masters team, they would have been like, oh, they're running a bunch of random shit. Fucking plow them over, and that would have been the end of it. Like, we would have absolutely lost that. But they didn't, because we're playing against other, people in our level. Which is that ultimate thing I was talking about before, where it's like, it's a blessing in disguise, or it's a curse in disguise that we are playing against people like this, because we make stupid mistakes because they make stupid mistakes. But we want to play as if we're playing against, OW. We want to play at an out level.
Good. Reset. Just stabilize.
So we called the not engage. Smart call. The full call should have been pull back. That's huge. I really like the positioning. We gave them the point and we let them poke out like that to be stupid, even though our comp didn't make sense. So what I meant by the other team playing stupid is if they played goats the right way, they should have just plowed us over and won that fight immediately. They shouldn't even have let us back up. But because they let us back up and we kited them and we just stood by the door and they're stupid, their brig walked up and got shot in the fucking head. And so she lost. Honestly, 100%, our Reaper should not have walked in. This is SWAT. We'll talk about. I'm not going to talk about people specifically. Reaper should have just stayed back there. He's fine where he's at. He got a kill. Sweet. He's going after Zarya. He looks confused. He uses his fade. He didn't need to. I think the smartest move we should have did. So this does anybody remember when I talked about when a fight is lost and when it's won, like calling it and what that means afterwards?
Yeah.
So a long time ago when we did the classes thing, there was another part where I talked about once we win a fight, meaning like we are up and we don't win a fight, we have an advantage. Once it is 6v5, we have an advantage. We are clearly in the lead. We have an extra piece of the puzzle that they don't have, and they're down one of their puzzle pieces, and they have to work around that. What that means is in an OWL setting, it means they're going to win because you've watched it before. If somebody gets picked in OWL, you see them just methodically pick the other team apart, and that fight's over. As soon as you see the one person die, you're like, cool, this fight's done. It doesn't matter anymore. It's very rare that ever doesn't happen unless they use an ult to switch it around. And the reason is not because it's just an equation like, hey, they lost a person, we win. It's because they continue to have the discipline to push forward in the correct way. They shield each other, they keep healing, they stay consistently up. They keep the fight as if it were normal already, like it was a 6v6 still, but they are more aggressive with it, and they push forward, but they keep being methodical about what they're doing. What we did is we got happy. We saw a kill, and we were like, oh! And then we ran in, and then we died. I don't know who that is. I died right at the beginning. I got Fire Strike, which means that I either got bashed, I didn't get healed, I didn't get bubbled, whatever, etc. There's a bunch of shit that, or not shield, but or DM'd or something. There's a bunch of shit that could have happened that let me to be dead. But essentially what that meant is we got sloppy on our approach, and Reaper should not be running in like that. If we would have methodically moved forward, I think we're going to lose this fight. I'm going to call it right now. I don't remember, but I feel like we're going to lose this fight because we didn't do that. But when you have an advantage, you win the fight by continuing to play smart and pushing forward. Once it's 6v2, that's a little bit of a different story. You should still play smart because you should respect your opponents, and they might have the ability to take out a key target of yours and stagger you, which might be huge for the next fight. So still play respectfully. Don't give them ult charge. Don't let them kill you. Don't do anything like that. But play methodically. It doesn't mean once we get a kill, it's time to go crazy and lose your fucking minds and move in. Make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get a Reaper kill. Now it's advantage us again.
Zen next, Zen next. I'm on Diva.
So I like that SWAT called for the Zen, but then he switched targets. This is another thing that's going to separate us from other teams, especially when we're playing this Nevermore tournament, is us having target focus. I already mentioned the target calling position, or target focus position. Like, once we have that and we're only listening to that person and all fire is directed at that person, these cleanup phases are gonna go so fast. Imagine if we had all 5 people shooting at Diva right now. Dead. Move on. Zen. Dead. Move on. Everybody's moving as a unit and we're all focused on one thing. We win these fights really fast. This is just, it's slow. We're taking way too much time to do this stuff that should be quick. It's because we're fighting all over the place. We got Diva shooting at a Lucio. We got, Reinhardt doing fuck all. Oh, he's dead. Never mind. I just got back. There's just people all over the place.
Mini Diva over here.
All right, so we win that fight. We should not have won that fight. I'm glad that we did. I was wrong about my prediction. I'm really glad, but we played that sloppy. We ran a bad comp into them. We didn't make the right decisions. We played sloppy after we got the advantage because the other team played stupid, but we ended up winning that fight. So now we should be talking about, I can't hear comms right now, but we should be talking about what do we do against goats and how do we play against this? I can't hear anything that's going on with the comps. Lamp's talking, Spiffy's talking. So, what was that? I don't know if Diva called her ult, but if they did, this should have been the pre-engagement thing. So, shot caller, I'm going to cut this off after this little comment. I think we're going to probably end after this team fight in terms of analyzing this video. We can continue to do it later on, but I think we've gotten we've gotten enough to focus on, and I'll make sure to mention big 3 things to write down on your notepads at the end of this. But, before we engage, the shot caller should be thinking, what do we have right now? And if we don't have ults, what is more than likely going to come up? Reaper is at 72% or whatever before we start this fight. He's going to have his ult up. He shoots Reinhardt 3 times. He's got his ult up. What do we do? How do we use it in combination? Diva throws bomb up, Reinhardt turns around, we charge in, we push into them, we use Reaper ult, we win that fight. Reset. What's the next fight going to look like? Etc, etc, etc. I can't hear the comms, so I don't 100% know what's going on. But Diva threw a bomb up there. That should have been an easy combination. Diva throws bomb up. It doesn't mean we win the fight. It means that their enemy team is going to be zoned in such a way that we can either take advantage of it and force them into a position that is vulnerable, or section them off in a way that allows us to win a fight in smaller increments. I'm not going to go into like the theory of how a Diva Bomb is supposed to be used, because there's a couple different ways to use it, but like the main idea of the Diva Bomb is either A, I need to reset my mech because I did something stupid, or we're in the middle of a fight. B, I want to zone either the team or part of the team off. If we're playing stupid teams like this where they don't know how to react to that and they all split up, that we can win these fights by zoning parts of teams off. Better teams will move together. They will zone. If you throw a bomb up, they're all going to go to a direction together, so that you can't get advantage of that. And then I think the last one is essentially like, I'm going to use it in combination with an ult. So in this scenario, I can't tell. Pizza, do you remember why you used your bomb there?
I wasn't here.
Oh, that was Max. Okay, Max, do you remember? All right, ADHD is not here. Cool.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Sick.
here.
Okay, anyway, he used his bomb for something. I do want him, if we keep running comps like this, to understand how to play off tanks that he needs to be able to play. If you are in a comp that, we are going to run at any point in time, and there's a possibility of you running something, I need you to understand the macro concepts in a scrim environment and a tournament environment of how to use your character. I don't expect you to be perfect at it, but I want you to understand the ideas of it. So in Max's case, what was the condition that he used it? Was it 1, 2, or 3 in this scenario? Now I'm watching Reaper ult inside of a room with the D.Va. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out. I assume he waited until she used...
And there's also a trance.
Yeah, so this is not a good ult. It was not conveyed. I didn't hear him talk. I can for sure know that he was not speaking about what he wanted to do. I think he saw Lucio in there and another target and just wanted to queue. This is part of our team problem. We need to be disciplined about what we're doing, and our shot caller needs to really talk about what we want to do for our next fight. DPS, if you see an opportunity that makes sense, fucking go for it. I want to make that very clear. I don't want you to wait for permission to do something, but be smart about it. In this case, trance is off. There's a D.Va 3 inches away from you with DM up. You're not going to get any kills this way. This is probably not a good ult. He gets 1 kill. That's absolutely amazing. The other team is really stupid. So we beat in response to what? What did we beat?
You were super low.
Okay, so if I'm playing like an idiot, if the Reinhardt's playing like an idiot and he's getting to the point to where he's low in those engagements, or maybe they used it... Generally, I should not be low. This is a healer thing, so this is like a flow of healer and tank relationship thing. I should not be low if they're not using ults. Unless our comp sucks. Let's put it that way. I should not be low. Meaning, I should understand that if I get anywhere near a point to where I start to get in a dangerous position where I could lose a lot of health quickly, I should not be there, and I should know better than to be there. Conversely, if I am doing normal tank things, the healers should be up on their heels and paying enough attention to me that I should not be dropping below a certain point to where an ultimate is needed to save me, ever. And that's something, I think that's something we'll work on. I don't know what the situation was specifically for this. Spiffy, do you remember it?
No.
Let's just say, I don't know. Let's just say I did something stupid. Whatever. Let's say I did something stupid. Then the point becomes, healers are paying attention to me. They're doing their jobs. They are outputting healing onto me. I am in a bad position. So the fault is, and the correction that I need to make in the future is that I need to pay more attention to where my positioning is at and how much health I can receive and where I'm at and how I can do that. An ult should never be used to save somebody without an ultimate from the other team being used to initiate that damage output. Does that make sense?
So in that case, would you rather we just
No.
Or...
I think Spiffy made the right call. I mean, whatever happened here, whether it be healers didn't pay attention or I did something stupid, we fucked up. And losing a main tank in this would have been catastrophic. So, yes, I think that...
Okay. Yeah, because I always had that question, because I'm not a very good loser, but I've been trying to get better. And one question that I always had was if your main tank is really low, do you beat? If you know he's gonna die in the next few seconds, or do you just save it?
If you know he's gonna die, then yes. If you have the foresight, hopefully you get to the point to where you start to see the main tank doing stupid shit, then you tell your main tank pull back or don't do that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do that. But if it really does come down to just this person's gonna die and we're gonna lose this fight, then yes, you can ult in that regard.
I think it
there was,
also
like,
depends.
Gotcha.
Go ahead. Sorry, you guys can talk.
There was like 3 people on you, and I saw your health drop super fast, so I just beat it to try to keep the fight going so we
Okay.
could win that.
Alright.
Probably not the best ult economy, but I don't know.
I think beating to save a main tank also depends on where in the fight
Very true.
we're at.
Yeah.
So if we're like in the cleanup phase and they have 2 people left and our Ryan's being stupid and just swings and dies, that's no reason to beat and save him. He could just come back before they regroup
Right.
and come.
Yeah.
Yeah, night hop right.
Can I have
Alright,
it?
I'm just gonna play the
Good
rest of this
night.
fight through.
Ryan's low, Ryan's very low.
We should win this. There's no reason we shouldn't win this.
Oh, alright, Zarya.
That was a smart adjustment on calling the better target. Zarya being super high energy really needed it.
Zarya also
SWAT literally
bad.
just got turned around. Like 100% turned around. Alright, let's end it there. Alright, so big 3 things. I'm gonna take my notepad out too. Make sure it's clear on this. First one is gonna be roles. Make it very clear, the shot caller, what your responsibilities are. I want you to understand exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I want that to be the priority of your thought process. You can play a shittier Lucio during that time. It's understandable. That's totally fine. And like SWAT said, try to make those decisions when it matters, and so you can still play. Like, we're in the brawl stage. I don't want you thinking about the next fight, obviously, but I want you to, keep those things in mind. Your idea is to gain a better sense of game sense and where the team fights are at, what the winning conditions are, how do we win, what do we do, stuff like that. Shot caller, your position being or not shot caller. That was just what I was talking about with Spiffy. The target caller, your position being that you need to really understand like what the enemy team's win condition is and how do you fucking kill that person and make sure that your team wins that next fight. And that's pretty much it. That's number 1. Make sure the roles are paying attention to what they're supposed to be doing. 2 is make sure that we are picking comps that make sense with the maps. So we want to pick we want to understand what the maps are and how we want to take the engagements and where and what is going to play into that. That's going to be really important for us. And as we go through these next couple weeks in the tournament and stuff, we're going to record all of these matches. We're going to go over these once a week at the end of them, and we'll come up with comps, and we're going to write it down on that fucking spreadsheet. Everybody is responsible for that too. If I forget one, please write it down. The third and final one is going to be that everybody on the team, I want you guys to think about essentially like how we're approaching these fights, these phases of the fights, and if it makes sense for us to retreat, pull back, switch immediately, or where do we position ourselves to do that thing. Think about those phases, those distinct phases in the fight, and where we're at and what we can do during those phases. If they're running comp A and we're running comp B, and comp A totally counters comp B, and we're in the brawl phase, it's too late. We're fucked at that point. But the scout and initiation phase, we can still might be able to do something with that. So those are the 3 things: roles, picking map and comps for those things, and then also understanding the phases of the fight. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's the end.
So do we want to start like every time we as soon as a game starts we scout and we do like the go back to spawn switch thing?
I would
from
like
now
to
on?
do that. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
All right, cool. That's the end of practice. Anybody else have any questions they want to ask?
I love you, Twitchy.
Anything else? Okay. All right, cool. I'm gonna end the.
I love you, Twitchy, with a question mark at the
Okay,
end.
I'll take that.